It was March 8th, International Women's Day, and Emily was not in the mood to celebrate. Her relationship with her husband, Michael, had hit a rough patch. They hadn't spoken in over a week after a heated argument about his growing habit of drinking beer every evening. Emily had tried to reason with him, warning him about the dangers of alcohol dependency, but Michael brushed it off, saying it was just beer and nothing serious. The tension between them had been building for months, and Emily felt increasingly alone and unappreciated. The previous night, Emily had called her best friend, Alice, to vent. "I just don't feel like celebrating," she confessed. "Michael and I are barely speaking. I don't even know if he remembers it's Women's Day tomorrow." Alice tried to cheer her up, suggesting they spend the day together, but Emily declined, too upset to even think about festivities. That morning, Michael left the house without a word. No happy Women's Day, no explanation of where he was going. Emily felt a pang of disappointment but tried to brush it off. She had noticed a small, beautifully wrapped box in his pocket the night before and had hoped it was a gift for her. But now, it seemed her hopes were misplaced. The box wasn't for her after all. Feeling dejected, Emily called her mother, who encouraged her to get out of the house. "Don't sit around moping, sweetheart. Go visit Alice or someone else. It's a holiday, don't let him ruin it for you." Reluctantly, Emily decided to take her mother's advice. She put on her favorite dress, did her makeup, and headed to Alice's apartment. When Emily arrived, Alice seemed flustered. "Oh, Emily, I wasn't expecting you today," she stammered. Emily, confused, handed her a bag of groceries and a small gift. "You invited me yesterday, remember? Or is this a bad time?" Alice hesitated, glancing toward the bathroom, where the sound of running water could be heard. "Well, honestly, it's not the best time. My plans changed, and, someone's here." Emily's heart sank. "Is it Victor?" she asked, recalling that Alice had mentioned a man named Victor who had been showing interest in her. Alice nodded, looking guilty. "Yes, it's Victor. I'm sorry, Emily. Maybe you could come back later?" Emily was about to leave when she noticed a familiar jacket and scarf hanging on the coat rack. Her stomach churned as she recognized them instantly. They belonged to Michael. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. Michael wasn't just out running errands, he was here, in her best friend's apartment. Overcoming her initial shock and disgust, Emily decided to confront the situation head-on. "You know what, Alice? I think I'll stay. Let's see what happens when your little secret comes out," she said coldly, her voice trembling with anger. Moments later, Michael emerged from the bathroom, towel drying his hair, completely unaware of Emily's presence. When he saw her, he froze. "Emily, what are you doing here?" he asked, clearly caught off guard. Emily crossed her arms, her eyes blazing. "That's a great question, Michael. One I'd like to ask you too. Care to explain why you're here, in my best friend's apartment, on International Women's Day of all days?" Michael stumbled over his words, trying to come up with an excuse, but Emily wasn't having it. "Don't bother lying. I can see exactly what's going on here. And you, Alice," she turned to her friend, "I never thought you'd betray me like this. We've been friends since childhood. How could you?" Alice tried to apologize, but Emily cut her off. "Save it, I don't want to hear it." Just as the tension reached its peak, there was a knock at the door. Emily opened it to find Victor standing there, holding a massive bouquet of roses. He looked surprised to see Emily but quickly recovered. "Alice, I wanted to surprise you for Women's Day," he said, then noticed the awkward atmosphere. "Oh, I see I've come at a bad time." Emily couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Bad timing seems to be the theme of the day. "But don't worry, Victor. I was just leaving. And as for you two," she glanced at Michael and Alice, "I hope you're happy together. You deserve each other." As Emily turned to leave, Victor stopped her. "Wait, Emily. I know this isn't how you plan to spend your day, but why don't we go out together? It's Women's Day, and you shouldn't have to spend it alone." Emily hesitated but then nodded. "You know what? You're right. They're not worth my tears." Victor took her to a cozy restaurant he had booked for Alice, hoping for a romantic evening. Instead, he spent the evening getting to know Emily. They talked for hours, sharing stories and laughing. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt a sense of peace. The pain of Michael's betrayal was still there, but it was overshadowed by the kindness of a stranger. In the weeks that followed, Emily filed for divorce. Since they had only been married for a year and were renting their apartment, the process was relatively smooth. She was grateful she had listened to her mother's advice and saved some money from her freelance accounting work. It gave her the financial stability she needed to start over. As for Victor, he couldn't stop thinking about Emily. He joked that he should thank Alice for introducing them, even if it was under such unfortunate circumstances. Emily, however, was in no rush to jump into another relationship. She had learned the hard way that trust takes time to build. The events of that International Women's Day had been a turning point in Emily's life. She had seen Michael for who he truly was, and while it hurt, it also set her free. As she looked to the future, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, everything would work out in the end.